Hello fellow collectors and welcome to Long's Toys. Today we are taking a look at Transformers Studio Series number 63 Deluxe Class Autobot Topspin as featured in the third movie Dark of the Moon. He is one of the Autobot wreckers alongside Roadbuster and Leadfoot. All three of them are NASCARs. As you can see here on the back, everything's officially licensed by GM and NASCAR, so don't worry about that. You can even verify it if you want. There's a little QR code. That's just weird to me. But in any case, robot mode, you have the vehicle mode over here. I always thought they looked pretty cool. I don't really have any strong affinity for the wreckers. I usually gravitate towards this guy just because he's blue. Blue's my favorite color. We'll see how it goes. If I remember correctly, Roadbuster had quite the backpack. So if this guy has less of a backpack, I think he's going to end up being my favorite out of the two. But packaging, pretty standard. You have a picture of the robot over here on this side. Over here you have kind of a close-up pic with the number and the Studio Series. I just like that. I think that blue is pretty sharp on the side there. Looks kind of nice. But yeah, pretty standard packaging. I'm going to go ahead, get him out of the box, and we'll take a closer look. Here is Topspin and the little diorama he comes with. Every Studio Series has one of these little diorama pieces. And Topspin's is the kind of decimated street scene from toward the end of Dark of the Moon when the wreckers show up. So kind of neat. Like I said, I definitely don't have room to display all these, but I think it's kind of neat that they include one of these with every figure. So if you do have the space, you can absolutely go ahead and give him this little backdrop, which I think looks pretty cool. So here's Topspin out of the packaging. Now I will say the first thing, when you look at the directions on how to transform them, they have a couple steps before they even get into the full transformation. I'm assuming it was mistransformed in the packaging just to kind of save space. They tell you to bring the shoulders all the way down and then clip the back piece in, but mine was already like that in the box. So I'm wondering if they thought they were going to package it differently and then change it at the end after those were already printed. I don't know. They also tell you to kind of change this shoulder kibble more like this. I don't really think one looks better than the other, I'll be honest. You do have these big, shoulder kibble pieces, but they're on a ball joint, so you have a little bit of display options. If you think it looks cooler to do this, if you like it straight back, you want it at kind of an angle, you want it straight up and down, you have options. So whatever you think looks best, I'm just going to leave them there. They don't really bother me. Just going to let them hang there. But you do have some options if you want to customize that a little bit. Otherwise, I think he looks pretty good. He's got a little bit of a backpack. These guns, though, and he comes with two extra ones, they are ridiculously soft, rubbery plastic, and I don't understand why. The only thing I can possibly think of is maybe it was like a brittle issue. If they made them hard plastic because they're so thin, they would be in danger of snapping and forming some kind of shard. So maybe it was like a safety issue, and they would be kind of thin. If they were made out of hard plastic, so maybe it was like a tolerance issue or safety issue, like I said. Otherwise, I don't know why you'd pick this soft rubbery plastic, because it makes them so easy to bend, and just from being in the packaging, that's how they came out. So they're already all bent and misshapen. It's not a huge problem. You could probably do some hot water or something to kind of loosen them up, and then straighten them out and maybe use a can of air or something or put them in the freezer or something like that to kind of get them back into shape. But just not really sure why they had to be such soft rubbery plastic. You also get these two gripper things, and they're kind of the same deal. Now these I don't mind as much, because you could kind of to grab onto stuff, being soft rubbery plastic might be a little bit advantageous. But the long guns, I don't care for them being super rubbery plastic. But overall, I think he looks pretty good. I like the head sculpt. I was always a big fan of his giant sunglasses. I think they look kind of cool. Articulation-wise, you have the head on a ball joint, so you have some up and down, side to side there. You have a ball joint in the shoulder. These shoulder pieces move, but not in robot mode. That's for the transformation, so they shouldn't move. They lock into place pretty solidly. So you have that ball joint here in the shoulder. You have a bicep swivel here. You have a double elbow. Again, that's mostly for the transformation, but it does help out a little bit. And then the wrists don't move because they flip into the forearm, and we'll see that in a moment. Nothing in the hips. Nothing in the waist. The hips have a ball joint. You have a thigh swivel. You do have pretty much 90 degrees in the knee. And then the ankles are pretty solid. I don't think there's any ankle tilt Pretty much everything down here is a pretty solid chunk. But overall, I think he looks pretty cool. Like I said, I like that he's blue. I think he's got some pretty good articulation. He doesn't have the hugest backpack. And I like the guns on the back. I just wish they weren't so soft and rubbery. But yeah, for the most part, he looks good. You can take those extra guns and put those in his hands. The other thing that's weird is they're very shallow pegs. So they kind of like just fit into his hands, but not very well. And then these you're supposed to peg on here. And it's actually kind of neat because you can see how they have kind of this ball joint area like hollowed out. That's actually going to come into play for these, because when this transforms it goes back, so it serves the dual purpose of not being in the way of this kind of ball piece molded into the claw, and also not being in the way of this ball joint up here. So I think that's kind of cool. So you can go ahead and pop those on, and then he's got the grabber claws on the side of his forearms, and then he's got the guns in his hand. So we'll position this around. The other thing that's a little awkward, because of the way he transforms, you have this kind of cut for the bicep that kind of sweeps back, and then they give you the double jointed elbow to correct that, but it still feels like it's too far back. I wish I could bring it more forward. I thought about turning this around and using the joint that way, but then it would look awkward because the hands don't. If you could rotate the wrist, maybe you could pull that off. But then you'd also have the hollow part towards the outside, so that wouldn't really look that good either. But for the most part, he's pretty decent. He feels pretty solid. I mean, the legs and everything, you know, they're nice and solid. The hands are good. I don't feel like he's floppy or anything. Nothing's falling around or anything like that. So for the most part, I think he looks pretty cool. Bend him forward a little bit there. Yeah, overall, I like him. Alright, so we'll go ahead and get into the transformation. I went ahead and removed the guns and the grabber claws. And I want to show off quick, he does have some pretty decent heels, as you can see. You just have to make sure the weight's evenly distributed, but he does have some pretty solid heels. So starting off transformation, you're going to go ahead and rotate the hands into the forearms like so. You're going to come around to the back. You're going to want to kind of bring this around. It says to do this later, but I find it's a little bit easier just to do it now while you have plenty of clearance with everything. You're going to bring these around. You can see that there's a tab right here, and that's going to tab in right there where my thumb is. So you're going to bring this around on that double jointed elbow, and then you're going to tab that in. And remember how I pointed out earlier that little like beveled out area right here perfectly fits around this ball joint up here. So pop that in, and then that's nice and solid. Then you're going to come here. This black piece has to kind of pull out, just wiggle it a little bit, and it'll come out of there. And then you can kind of move this out of the way for now. You're going to want to push these, and these are on kind of a pin, so you can kind of push these back a little bit, these like exhaust pieces, because then this has to come all the way in and it has to clear that. It doesn't usually give me this much trouble. There we go. So you push that in, and you can see, it's a little hard to see, but this will go as flush to this middle piece as you possibly can. So make sure with the head and everything that you have all this stuff with the clearance issues and whatnot. And just make sure you can get that in all the way over. So when you're done, you want that to be as in and compact as possible. So you can see that there. Next, you're going to bring this piece up and over, and it's kind of neat. You'll see that this, the way this is kind of cut out along here, fits perfectly in between the two hand pieces here. So that's going to come in there and just kind of fit down over that, like so. Then you're going to come down here to the feet. You're going to flip out these wheel pieces from the inside, like so. You're going to bring this, these are kind of like latched in. They just kind of, you can see, they just kind of use friction to kind of go deep into, there's like a little cut out right there, and then this just kind of like fits in there to basically keep it tight. But you're going to unpeg that and then flip this up. Do the same over here. And then you're just going to kind of straighten these out and peg these together. At this point, you're going to want to bring this down, and then you're going to want to push this down so that these can get around these two pegs. It's a little difficult. You want to make sure that this is down as far as it can go, and then peg this in. I'm going to do it off camera, but because it is kind of finicky, you're going to want to get these all lined up here with those tabs pegged in. Okay, so it actually wasn't too bad this time. You can see we have everything pegged together here, and those pegs that were on the kind of base of the windshield are also pegged into the front legs. So pretty cool. Next, you're going to take this and straighten this out. You can kind of see how this was collapsed a little in on itself. It accordions out like so. And then you're going to bring this in, and this is kind of the funniest thing to me. There's just a straight peg right there, and then there's a peg hole right there. So you're just going to bring this down, and this is just going to peg right on there like that. Just make sure that this is all pushed against. And then you're going to come over here and do the exact same thing on this side. And then bring this down. Peg that in. The first couple times it was actually a little difficult for me. Oh, this isn't down all the way. There we go. There's actually very tiny little tab spots. Let me see if I can actually get this to pop out now. But right, it's very, very tiny to see, but right there, you can see that there's the tiniest little hole in the silver, and then there's the tiniest little tab on this black piece, so that you can peg that together just for a little bit more stability. But these connections actually do a pretty good job. And it's kind of funny because they're almost like a little bit of a mushroom cap, where I had a decently difficult time the first time pegging this one in, but you can see it's a little bit better now. So if you have a little bit of time or trouble, just be careful with it because you don't want to break. I was really, really afraid I was going to break that peg. And then I was like, how's this thing going to stay together? But now that it's all together, and apparently shedding small bits of plastic, we have the vehicle mode, which I actually think looks really good. The side over here with the silver and the yellow and the black is giving me like Batmobile vibes, just because of the color scheme, I think. And then you have the blue, which I think looks sharp. Again, I don't love the super rubbery, gummy turrets there, but otherwise I think it looks pretty cool. You can take those other ones and peg them here on the side to give them a little bit more firepower. And then underneath, you can bring in these like grabber claw pieces and peg them in for storage, and they actually store very well. So you can pop those on there, and they'll stay under. You can see the robot head, you can see the torso, but not too much robot kibble underneath. But yeah, rolls really well. I actually think it looks pretty cool. I like it quite a bit, actually. Really like the color scheme. I like the guns. I just wish they weren't so bendy. Even if they were like rubbery plastic, but they stayed straight, I wouldn't have a problem. But maybe I can, like I said, fix that with some warm water or something. But yeah, overall, I really like the look of the vehicle mode. So I like Topspin. He's not perfect. He's got a few problems. Obviously, my biggest complaint is the really gummy, rubbery guns. I wish this locked in place a little better, because as it stands, this just kind of flops about all over the place. And the giant shoulder kibble pieces are kind of a bummer. And because of that, they also make him very top heavy. But he's got some pretty decent sized heels, so as long as you distribute his weight properly, he's not going to fall over or anything like that. I like the grabber claws. I think having them be kind of a malleable plastic makes sense, so you can kind of stretch them over and have them clamp onto things. I think that's kind of fun. I like the color scheme. I like the head sculpt, good articulation. Really like the vehicle mode. I think that looks really sharp. So like I said, there's a lot to like here. He's not perfect by any means, but there's definitely a lot to like here. And if you've already got Roadbuster, you're probably going to want to get all three to complete the trio. So gonna have to add this guy to your collection. But like I said, I think there's definitely fun to be had here. He's not perfect, and I can't remember what the original Dark of the Moon toy is like to say if this is an improvement or not. Because it's been a really long time, but I feel like that was more shell formery, where I feel like they did a decent job here. You have a little bit of a backpack, and you have, of course, these shoulder things, which are just kind of becoming the entire sides of the vehicle. But other than that, he's not overly shell formery. On the 0 to 10 shell former scale, I give him about a 6. He's not all the way there, but like I said, overall, I definitely think there's fun to be had here, so I recommend checking them out. I got mine from Amazon, but I think people are starting to find them in stores. Probably Target's probably your best bet at this point, so let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoyed the video, and as always, thanks so much for watching.